Welcome to the MS&Me Radio Network, a division of the Multiple Sclerosis Global Support Network. The following program broadcast is an original creation by the broadcast entity. Discussion within the following broadcast should be used for informational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional medical advice or consultation. Before considering application of any broadcast content in the following program, please consult your healthcare provider. If you feel you are having a medical emergency, please contact your local health services for immediate assistance. MS&Me Media and the Multiple Sclerosis Global Support Network do not guarantee or warrant the accuracy of information in the broadcast to follow. The Multiple Sclerosis Global Support Network provisions broadcast services to program hosts. Information discussed in the broadcast does not necessarily reflect the views, opinions, or goals of the network and are solely those of the show broadcast host. Should you wish to host a broadcast, please visit our website at msmemedia.com and submit a request to become a program host. We thank you for listening to the MS&Me Radio Network. Enjoy the show.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of MS Gamers Hut, and I'm your host, Ted Michael. I hope you got a chance to try out some of the RPGs I reviewed last week. I had an incredible time playing them, so I can give you some ideas on games you can try. This week, I'll be reviewing the most popular games that have come out in the past couple of years. The first one is Minecraft Pocket Edition. The pitch for Minecraft Pocket Edition is simple and promising. It's Minecraft on the go. What is Minecraft, you ask? Minecraft is a video game in which players create and break apart various kinds of blocks in three-dimensional worlds. The game's two modes are survival and creative. In survival, players must find their own building supplies and food. They also interact with block-like mods or moving creatures like creepers and zombies are some of the most dangerous ones. In creative, players are given supplies and do not have to eat to survive. They also can break all kinds of blocks immediately. The joy of adventuring, collecting, and building right there in your hands. Pocket particularly delivers on the promise, but if you've played the other versions, this one feels more restricted thanks to its small world, limited enemies, and all over lack of features. Minecraft's randomly generated world are composed of big blocky cubes of dirt, stone, sand, and dozens of other materials. The blocks are colorfully distinct and memorable thanks to simple and charming textures. That makes them great is how they enable creativity. Piece by piece, you'll rearrange and refine the pristine primordial world into whatever you want. It could be a seaside home, a sky bridge, or any other creation you can envision. This is a power we rarely see in games, and the freedom it offers at first daunting. In survival mode, each block must be chipped at and collected by hand from an open world. What initially feels like a tedious task becomes the basis for Minecraft's rewarding core gameplay. I had to gather, transport, and place each piece of my home myself, so it was impossible not to feel a fierce sense of pride and ownership over it and all my own creations, big and small. When the sun goes down, Minecraft's bad guys come for you. They are scary and dangerous for maybe an hour, even less once you obtain the simple items needed to ward them off. This feels immediately disappointing. Why have enemies at all if they become laughable in no time? But later, as my ambitions for building outgrew my resources on hand, My quest for new materials drove me deeper underground. Down there, I realized those same enemies that are easy to defeat on the surface felt far more challenging to fight in the confines of a rocky corridor where they could ambush me. The amount of danger I was in was tied to how far from those bases I roamed, which keeps the game tense and exciting at the right times. Unfortunately, Pocket has only a fraction of the enemy mods available in Minecraft proper, and their absence, especially the Endermans, making the experience less dangerous. Every enemy can be killed simply by swinging a weapon and running backwards. At least we don't have to fight any flying enemies with the touch controls, which can usable but not great. I like the way it auto jumps over block high obstacles. Pocket's worlds also feel too small. One of the strengths of the PC version, for example, is that its wide open areas let you build as wide and as far as you'd like. In Pocket, if you walk too far in one direction, which isn't difficult to do, you'll bump into an invisible wall. At least in the console version, the invisible wall bordered an expansive sea. In Pocket, all you see is a blank abyss. The world size traps you. It contradicts the rest of Minecraft's mechanics. It also makes multiplayer less desirable as there's less room to spread out and build. Crafting is a simple process. Once you have the required materials, you just tap on the item you want and it enters your inventory. There's no need to drag items across the touch screen into specific arrangements. It feels fast and appropriate for the device. Creative mode, the popular option that gives players unlimited access to Minecraft's items, is Pocket's biggest draw. It's essentially a digital tub of Lego. If you want to build something, you don't need to put in the time digging underground. It's more immediate gratification. After starting a new build project in Minecraft, I often think about it through the day. Instead of waiting to get home, Pocket lets you make adjustments to your creations whenever you find time throughout the day. The next game I'd like to talk about is Pokemon Go. As those in the know will doubtlessly already be aware, there's a Squirtle at the Senate House Library, a Bulbasaur at Buckingham Palace, and maybe even Eevee at your local bus stop waiting not for the 147, but for an intrepid player to snap it up. Pokemon Go has turned the world into a Pokemon menagerie, and now everyone with a smartphone has the potential to become a master of cute little monsters. Pokemon Go is the first smartphone release from the Pokemon Company, which has been looking after this multi-million selling video game franchise since 1998. Created by augmented reality specialist Niantic Incorporated, the developer behind Google's experimental AR game Ingress. It's a massive multiplayer, location-based spin-off from the role-playing fantasy series. Using a player's smartphone camera and GPS signal, the game makes it seem as if the wild Pokemon are cropping up on the streets of the real world. When walking around and exploring, players, or trainers, as they are called in the game, are greeted with rustling bits of grass which signal a Pokemon's presence. Walking closer will trigger them to appear, and tapping on them will initiate a Poke Battle. With this optional arrange augmented reality turned on, it may look as if a caterpie is peeking out from the grass just outside the front door, putting players right in the shoes of a Pokemon trainer. Where the much-loved Pokemon game of the 1990s and 2000s had players assuming the role of kids coming of age in a monster-inhabited alternate Japan, Pokemon Go encourages those new-grown Pokemon-crazed millennials to get outside and turn whole neighborhoods into shared Pokemon safari parks. When Go was announced last September, it was already being heralded as a landmark experiment in augmented and virtual reality game. This, coupled with the never be underestimated power of nostalgia from the 90s era brands, has served as generated enormous Pokemon hype. Even before you really get into the experience, however, there are a handful of technical problems, which now seems standard for a connected game in the early stages of its release. Pokemon Go crashes with a frustrating frequency. It is slow to respond in areas with poor cell signal, and the strain on the phone's battery makes a portable charger an essential piece for every trainer's kit. Even beyond these minor technical difficulties, there are problems. An opaque user interface, poorly explained mechanics, and tiresome battle sequences with no discernible connection to the Pokemon games millions of fans have come to know and love. True, there is a tutorial at the beginning, but it's unsatisfyingly short, and the fact is, every Pokemon game before this one has been largely intuitive for players to pick up and play. Pokemon Go isn't, yet it expects players to know what is going on. For example, what is Stardust and why is it in your inventory? It doesn't explain the Pokemon specific candies, which are seemingly requisite for Pokemon to evolve or power up, rather than using experience points gained when battling other Pokemon, as in prior games. Instead of a confronting return to Yonder, and without proper explanation, the experience can feel slightly alienating. The game's battles are core mechanics of the Pokemon franchise, are separate in Go between battles with wild Pokemon and those against area gym leaders. Battling wild Pokemon for capture involves quick mini games where players must use their fingers to flick Pokemon balls on screen towards Pokemon as colored rings pulse and focus around them. A green ring might represent an easy catch Pokemon, yellow for moderate difficulty, and so on. Lacking further explanation, it only becomes clear well into play that the smaller a ring becomes, the more focused a throw would be. Even this minigame, however, is frustrating and unreliable, as tossing softballs at carnival milk bottles stacks requires more strategy than gym battles, which seems to only require a mess of frantic screen tapping. Gone are the tense, turn-based combat sequences of previous Pokemon games, while the time commitment of a full-on Pokeball would be inconvenient mid-stroll down the the highway. Becoming a leader at a gym still felt unsatisfying and almost accidental. One doesn't necessarily need to venture out in the real world to capture or battle Pokemon. Many can be found in one's home, and there is a kind of childish wonderment to discovering a Zubat or two between the television and the sofa. The real fun, though, comes from heading out into the streets to see what different sorts of Pokemon, having been lying low in the rustling grass of local neighborhoods or at various historic sites. Some reports have indicated that journeying beyond your own street is the key to finding rare types of Pokemon. It's also the fastest way to access Pokestops, a Pokemart proxy for the game, which offers items such as Pokeballs and health potions to trainers. Pokestops can be found at parks, museums, and even works of public art. Pokestops have been at the center of recent controversy, as some have already been the site of real-world crime inspired by the game, with one or two instances of armed robbers sticking out Pokestops with lures to attract wild Pokemon and trainers looking to capture them. It is important to remember to practice common sense and take care of one's surroundings while playing. As one U.S. police officer told ABC News, normally you wouldn't go to a deserted alley at 3 a.m. That shouldn't change just because an app says you should. To put it bluntly, Pokemon Go is not good as a game until it gets updated that iron out kinks and offers the content promised in early trailers, such as trading Pokemon, group battles, or even just more interesting combat. This isn't likely to change, but then to just hold Pokemon Go against other Pokemon titles or even other mobile games feels unfair. As we've seen, it has already inspired countless players to go outside and explore their neighborhoods, travel to historic landmarks, kayak to the middle of lakes, or battle gym leaders with friends and meet new people. Okay, yes, one person discovered a dead body, but the game has engaged a spirit of exploration, discovery, pro-social play that we haven't seen in this scale before, not even in the early 2000s when titles such as Bot Fighters introduced the concept of location-based play to a fascinated new audience of early adopters. It's not just another mobile game, it's not another Pokemon game on the cusp of something vast, a glimpse into the future of widely accessible augmented reality. What does it matter now if the nuance of gameplay and clunky when there's the possibility of catching a Ghastly in a previous unfamiliar local park behind a sculpture you never knew the name of before, or the glee of discovering an oddish unbeknown to those around you, a little secret of the reality that exists only in the palm of your hand. Besides the bell peppers at Tesco, even everyone street corner is potential Pokestop. when any passerby could ask, "Oh, wow, are you playing Pokemon Go?" and become a new hunting pal. Something much bigger is going on. The next game I'm going to talk about is Roller Coaster Tycoon. Roller Coaster Tycoon is a beloved classic simulation series as any, but up until now, it had yet to shown its true classic root on mobile device. After the ridiculousness of the freemium-filled Roller Coaster Tycoon 4, mobile players eventually had a decent title in Roller Coaster Tycoon 3, which brought the core simulation gameplay to mobile device. However, as we've mentioned before, doesn't quite nail the look and feel that hardcore fans of the series were looking for. Enter Roller Coaster Tycoon Classic, which combines the best of both Roller Coaster Tycoon and Roller Coaster Tycoon 2 in an amazing mobile package. Rest assured, Roller Coaster Tycoon Classic is the real deal and is a must-own for everyone that loves simulation titles. Simulation titles encompass a wide variety of topics, but in my mind, nothing is quite as enjoyable as the theme park simulator. Whether it's designed and building roller coasters, constructing food courts, and strategically setting the prices of items, or even just planning the maintenance duties of your staff, the genre feels highly approachable and fun. This feels this feeling was excellently captured by the classic Roller Coaster Tycoon titles by offering a fairly complex simulation of a theme park with more than enough to keep players engaged in the operation of their park. Roller Coaster Tycoon Classic is so amazing because it's basically a port of these two classic titles. The same highly enjoyable ride construction mode is there, along with a wealth of prefabricated designs for folks that want to just create something. There's also dozens of park scenarios to unlock, and through once you're done with all the game has to offer, there are even more scenarios available to purchase via online. And when all else fails, a full-on park and ride design mode can also be purchased so players can create their own dream scenarios. It is so incredibly easy to spend dozens of hours simply with the base game, and the options of additions make Roller Coaster Tycoon Classic an amazing title for replayability. One of the many reasons for the Roller Coaster Tycoon nostalgia love was with its visuals. Highly detailed pixels representing and smooth animations make Roller Coaster Tycoon one of the nicest looking games within its visual medium. The resurgence of pixel visuals on mobile devices means that Roller Coaster Tycoon Classic feels right at home on the platform. Options may differ, of course, but I find the graphics of Classic to be far better than the likes of, say, Roller Coaster Tycoon 3. It's a throwback to a time where creativity was necessary to a higher degree to get a visual point across. It also means that creating giant centerpiece roller coasters had a lot more clout. Suffice to say, Classic looks amazing, runs as smooth as it can be, and works perfectly on both iPhones and Android's devices. Whenever a complex PC game makes a jump to mobile devices, there's always a question as to whether the controls make a smooth transition as well. After many hours of play, I can say fairly definitely that I didn't encounter any significant issues with Roller Coaster Tycoon Classic. The game's visual buttons and hex grid are fairly easy to follow and tap on, while playing on my mobile device can feel a little cramped. There's more than enough zoom views available for folks looking to do tile-specific decorations. If you play on a tablet, however, Roller Coaster Tycoon Classic is pretty much as good as it gets. In fact, my biggest complaint probably has to be due with the lack of fluid zoom, but it doesn't impact gameplay and can probably be attributed to the way zoom works on the older tiles. As far as simulation games go, you can't get much better than Roller Coaster Tycoon Classic on mobile devices. Not only are they tons of scenarios to play and purchase, but within each game are a wealth of decisions that can significantly impact how you play out a scenario. In addition to basic decisions such as what type of rides to build, there's also a need to play constant attention to the needs and opinions of your patrons and adjust accordingly. There's also a games research system, which is what allows you to unlock new attractions and shops and can be tailored within a scenarios depending on what you want to build. Temperatures and weather even have the potential to play a significant factor and must be monitored as well. In the end, though, there's nothing as exciting as building a new roller coaster in your park, watching your attendees go crazy for it and make changes as necessary to give it the edge it needs to be a linchpin in your park. There's a reason why Roller Coaster Tycoon Classic made it to the list. It's a game I kind of got lost in. It was a real fun game to play. So if you can find the title, give it a try. And that brings us to the end of another episode of MS Gamers Hut. As usual, I'd like to thank MS&Me Radio for giving me the opportunity to share my passion for games and my listeners, because without you, there would be no MS Gamers Hut. Next week, I will be reviewing some games that are supposed to scare the daylights out of you in honor of Halloween. Goodbye, and keep gaming.